Everybody out there, haven't done a YouTube video in a while. I'm here in my home studio with Copernicus and another super horn. This is the Adams A4 Limited. You've seen the video I just did from a couple days ago. I hope you all have questions about these horns because I often get questions about what's the differences and similarities of each horn. So I'm going to take you through that in this live video. So stay tuned, everybody. Everybody, it's Trent Austin from Austin Custom Brass. Hope you have an awesome day. We often have questions about what the differences and similarities of the Adams A4 trumpet. Now this one's a very specific limited edition one. Why is the first question always what's the bore size? That's like, okay, you're talking about that right there. Which is bigger, this part right here or this part? There's, sorry, slight rant. But there is actually a difference between the two horns, and we'll get to that. But bore size is one factor in about 200, 300, 400 overall that define how an instrument plays. More importantly, what's the gap? More importantly, what's the dimension outside the third valve or first valve into the bell bow? What's the taper of the bell bow? What's the bend of the bell bow? What's the bend of the tuning side? All of these have almost as much of influence on the sound as the bore size. Case in point, Martin, the Constellation. Everybody who plays it who didn't know would say, oh, that's a huge bore, that's a big bore horn. The Constellation's a 438 bore, it's a small bore. But it feels more open because the body perceives resistance almost opposite of the way we actually play. Sorry, little rant, but if you ask what the bore size is as your first question, you're doomed for that slight rant. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let's talk about this Adams A4 trumpet. I just did a video, I think I posted it yesterday or 2 days ago, of this horn. This horn is got a 5.5-inch bell. The bell on this horn and the bell on Copernicus are the same in terms of the end dimension. We'll get to the flare in a little bit. This is a gold brass bell. And this is a large bore, so I can, Christopher, or chromosome, sorry, I thought I saw Christopher, so chromosome, I like your name. This is a large bore, and in this case, the Adams large bore is 0.470, so it's quite large. The horn has a heavy-weighted receiver. The gap is a little bit bigger than a standard trumpet. It's more like a Martin committee gap, which is a fairly large gap, which produces a different sort of tonality in terms of like the spread and the color of the horn and how it responds. We also can make the Adams A4 trumpet with adjustable receiver. It's always an option for people. Some people don't like the large gap on this particular horn, myself included actually. So the weight of the horn is fairly heavy, but it's not as heavy as like a Monet, for instance. So, hello Mexico, how are you? You can see the valve block itself has got a sleeved, heavy receiver, and this is, you can't see it in this finish because this is gold plate, but it's got bronze on the lower part and nickel silver on the upper. You can also see a little bit more substantial trim here, a little bit more substantial trim here, and of course a little bit heavier receiver. All that's there to design to solidify the responsiveness and color spectrum of this trumpet. So I'll play a little bit of In a Sentimental Mood on this trumpet, and then we'll talk about Copernicus. If you have any questions at all, just post them here in the comments, and we can go from there. Thanks. So it has great response. I mean, this was the first trumpet that introduced me to the Adams trumpets. I had a flugel before, but I had an A4 to start. Really great horn. Fantastic. And this one is the prettiest trumpet, I think, that I've ever owned. So that's in my own personal collection. But the horn I play every day, and most of the time every day, is the Copernicus model. And we call it Copernicus because it's in a copper finish. You can see there's, right off the bat, there's a few big differences. Most notably, the dual shepherd's crook nature of this. So you can see there's a shepherd's crook on the front of the horn. There's a shepherd's crook on the back. And you say, well, why do that? One, it's a shorter instrument, so I can actually hear myself a little quicker because the bell's closer to my head. Two, the shepherd's crook allows you to have a darker tone without doing other things in the design to negatively affect the performance. For instance, this horn is a medium large, and it's a step bore. So thank you so much for your comments on the Manchester Brass. Perfect. I love that too, and I actually have one in my car for when I don't want to take this one out. So this is a medium polybore, really. It starts a little bit small, and then once it gets to the end of the valve block, it's a medium large. So you can see versus the A4, which we just showed you, there's a lot less mass here because I like a little quicker response. Also, this is gapped to be a little bit smaller than where Vincent Bach set his trumpets at. He always said that his optimal gap, and there is no such thing as optimal gap, was 0.125 inches. So, and this is gapped with my mouthpiece at least at about 0.116. It's a little smaller than that. I do have the Saturn water keys on this. The bell dimension is the same as the A4, which is that 5.5 inch bell. Sorry, just threw that right at you. But this flare is actually a little bit bigger. So it's quite a large flare of the trumpet itself. This has a thinner valve block. You can see there's a lot less mass here. I will not tell you what the design. One of the reasons we put this in copper plate is that we hide a lot of where we put certain elements of nickel, certain elements of bronze, certain elements of red brass and gold brass, because putting them in certain places on the instrument change the playability. So you could always strip it, I guess, but it's just pretty the way it is. Yeah, what can I say? Let me play a little bit in a sentimental mode on this trumpet. We'll do some quicker back and forths, but I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people ask me. We get this question via email almost 3, 4, 5 times a week, so I can always, in the future, refer them to this video because it's super important to know that this is what goes on with the design elements of the trumpet. So, all right, here's In a Sentimental Mood on Copernicus. Yeah, probably I should be playing the exact same thing on horns, and I will in just a second, but I just love this trumpet so much, I just could play it all day. And that's just actually, you know what? We just got this back from ITG, and it's just a slide stop. So it's just a silicone slide stop to prevent the slides from falling out in transit. So I probably should take that off anyway. So yeah, all that is just a little slide stop, and yeah, there we go. So good question. Nothing to do with the design. We don't have it on the A4. So, but hey, Nathaniel, how are you, brother? So hope you are well. But that's the big thing. The weight difference on this horn is pretty huge, and I wish I had an actual weight number, but this is significantly lighter than the A4. And you can just look why it's lighter. Well, first and foremost, look at the valve block of each horn. So this is the A4 again. It's very substantial. It's got quite a heavier caps there, a little bit heavier upper caps. Then if I show you the valve block of the Copernicus, let's see, that's a little bit better. You can see the valve caps are a little scalloped out. There's not nearly as much heavy trim right where my thumb, you see where my thumb's pointing? There's a lot less trim there. The top buttons are lighter. And so right off the bat, you're eliminating a lot of weight from the two horns. People think this is going to be a heavy horn based on what they hear in the sound of the trumpet. They think, oh, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be really thick. It is a really thick and beautiful sounding horn, but can get bright. That's why I love it so much. So that's a huge difference. And I think I used to play heavier horns years and years ago before I started my professional relationship with Adams as an artist, way before the shop even. And I just got sick and tired of holding a heavy horn on a 4 or 5, 6 hour gig. It's not fun. This horn, it's very light, super fun. If you guys have a specific thing you'd like to hear me play on the two horns, you could post them in the comments here. Again, thank you for watching. We're doing that comparison between the Adams A4 trumpet and the ACB by Adams Copernicus. If you want Copernicus, the only place you can buy a Copernicus, unless you buy it secondhand, is through Austin Custom Brass. We are sole distributors of this instrument worldwide. Let me play a little bit of something technical for you. Let's do a little bit of Brandt. It's been a while since I played this, so don't judge me. So. We'll do the same thing on the A4. Gianni, how are you, brother? I see your comment. I'll answer it in just a second. So, Brandt on A4. That's actually a wonderful question you asked. How do you blending in a big band? I didn't see the full answer. I don't actually see full questions here. So if I don't get the full question, I'm sorry, because my little program here is shrinking everybody's comments. Let me see if I can get that actually a little bigger. And maybe that will help my... There we go. Haha. Oh, I just had it and I lost it again. So, all right. Copernicus is actually a little bit easier to play in a big band section, I think, overall, because of the fact that it's a little lighter. And so, and that's not necessarily the sound of the horn; it's more the responsiveness of the horn. So, so that's just a personal feeling. Although I've played lead on the A4. When I first played the A4, I played a bunch of lead and salsa gigs on it. And the A4 is made for a great salsa trumpet player. So people think because it's a big bell and it's a big horn that it's gonna be very one-dimensional in terms of sound. But watch this bell. Don't try this at home. I can actually flex this bell. Do you see? You see me flexing the bell right where my fingers are. I don't know if you could see it. And like I said, don't try it at home. But because this has a very light and completely handmade bell, and that's a huge difference between this and other manufacturers. Because that's completely handmade, you get such an amazing tonal spectrum. So what's the difference between metal and plastic valve guides? Easy answer. One's metal and one's plastic. But to answer your question on a more technical term, metal's louder, a little bit more finicky to fit into horns. Metal vibrates, so it might give you a little bit more resonance. Plastic or nylon, they're not really plastic, they're nylon, synthetic, is softer. It's more reliable in terms of the feel overall on the instrument, and it's cheaper. So there you go. Adams will send a set of metal valve guides with any trumpet purchased, but both of these horns, just to give you a heads up, both of these horns have nylon guides in them because I do not like the sound close mic'd with a metal valve guide. That actually gets picked up on my clip-on microphone. So, what's the difference you feel playing the horns? Great question. I think it's hard to say. If I had spent more time on the A4 trumpet, I would have probably a little bit more experience. Even though I've played the A4 for a few years, I feel like for me, and again, this is the big question we all have to face. For me, the Copernicus fits me very well. It's just an extension of what I hear in my head, and I just love the ergonomics of that horn. I love the feel, the weight of that horn. Although I will say, when I just played this A4, it felt actually a little bit more secure for me. So let me play another excerpt. I'll go back and forth, this time starting on the Adams A4. And this will be actually just an actual trumpet excerpt. So sorry for all the classical trumpet players out there in advance. Same thing on Copernicus. I don't play excerpts anymore. I'm sorry. Anybody who heard that who's a classical trumpet player, please forgive me. But I'd rather play bebop. But it's nice to actually hear the two horns. And these two horns, I probably wouldn't do that on anyways. So there are other choices. I've got a few questions here I'm going to look at. So let's see if I can see them. I'm just still not really seeing full questions with these. Sorry. So, with the ability to change the metal on the horn and flexes back, what does that do to the vibrations? The good question. The lighter the alloy of the bell, the more resonant it can be. The heavier the bell, maybe a little bit more projection out in the hall. But again, there are ways you can combine both elements to have a little bit of both. By having a heavyweight receiver like you have on the A4 trumpet, you get a little bit more stability. With a heavy-weighted valve section, also stability. The bell on the Copernicus, however, is a little bit heavier than that bell, just in general. How about another clip? And this one I saw, let's see if I missed some stuff. So let me just play, I'll actually play another thing from the Arbin book. Just quick stuff so you can hear them back and forth. Again, if you have a specific question or request, this video is really comparing, if you're just tuning in, this video is comparing the Adams A4 trumpet with the ACB by Adams Copernicus double shepherd's crook trumpet. So, thank you again for watching. Thanks again for your awesome support of the shop. Even though I'm in my home studio, the shop is still open right now. So shout out to the guys at the shop for kicking brass today. So here's some Arbin. So let's do something I can actually play. Did you hear a difference? Let me do the same thing backwards. I'll do another Arbin excerpt, starting with the A4. Then the Copernicus. Anyways, the second one always sounds better for me because I'm practicing. But how do these horns work as lead horns? Well, you were in the room at ITG with our buddy Gerardo, man, he was playing an A4, but with a medium large bore. I don't know if you remember, and the sound was literally shaking in the room. It was kind of ridiculous, actually. As a lead trumpet, they both would work well. This mouthpiece is not going to work, but I can put my smaller lead mouthpiece in and play some excerpts for you. Here's from Easy Lover from Phil Collins. First on Copernicus. Get used to that mouthpiece. It's a lot smaller than what I normally play. Let me play it on the Adams now. One thing I will tell you is this large bore is a little large for me. So you get, although I love the feel of it right off the bat, it feels just beautiful and very inviting. I'm struggling a little bit on it. Not a huge amount, but I definitely feel the difference. But you could definitely play lead on this. There's no doubt about that. You could play lead. You have to probably do something like this, which is a pretty high compression mouthpiece into this large bore trumpet, but you could do it. Let me do a little bit of Macatha Pack on the Copernicus. Yeah, that sound at ITG in the room when he was playing was like completely ridiculous. That's a lot more comfortable, but remember, this is the horn I play every day. This is the horn I practice with every day. This is the horn that I'm super comfortable with, and I just got the other one. So that has to be into the factoring. So let's play a little bebop. You can play a bebop melody, and so you can hear that too. We'll first start with, because it's in my hand, Copernicus. If you're just tuning in, again, this is a little bit of a live stream of the differences and similarities of the ACB by Adams Copernicus and the Adams A4 trumpet. Play another chorus on the A4. Play that in a while, sorry. A4. Do you hear a difference? If you do, post them in the comments. I feel a huge difference. And of course, I feel like the Copernicus is, for me, again, is much more agile. So now I'll play a chorus solo on each one versus the melody where I'd flub up. So first, we'll do a chorus on Copernicus. Now we'll do a chorus of a solo on the A4. A little bit hazy on those because I haven't played on this. I feel a difference. Richard, great comment. We did a couple ballads earlier, and maybe I'll come back and do another ballad. If you're just tuning in, this is a live stream comparing the Adams A4 trumpet with the ACB by Adams Copernicus. They're both great, great instruments, and I think it just depends on what you're looking for. And the good thing is, if you call our shop, we can guide you exactly to find the right match for what you're looking for. Which is, there's a ton of potential with the A4 trumpet. You can get the A4 trumpet with a medium large bore. You can get the A4 trumpet with a single crook. You can get the A4 trumpet with a double shepherd's crook. You can get the A4 trumpet with an adjustable receiver. You can get the A4 trumpet with a threaded integrated receiver. These are all options. Of course, they do add to the price, and we do have selected models in stock, just to give you a heads up. But there's infinite possibilities. Versus Copernicus, there's two options. This option has a pure sterling silver bell, and that is this is my baby. The other ones come with a blended alloyed bell, which I'm not going to tell you what it is because you don't need to know. But a magician cannot reveal all of their secrets now, can they? So let me see if I missed a few questions. If you have questions or comments, you'd like to hear something in particular on these two horns, I'll play a ballad in just a second. So, great, good comments. So, yeah, the A4 medium large is a little bit more nimble, but you don't get what this large bore has something really cool in the vibe of it. It certainly does, and it has a lot of color in the sound because you can change the sound and change the shape of your sounds. So it's a little bit of this and that. I think if you find the really good mouthpiece match, that the A4 becomes really versatile. So let's play a ballad. How about a little bit of body and soul? First on the A4. A4. Your comments. Hold on. I'll turn my talking mic on. If you hear differences and similarities, post them in the comments. And thank you again for watching. Live comparison of the A4 versus Copernicus. Bridge. I'm going to actually play the bridge again so you can hear it on this horn, because it's strange, I understand, but... I'm going to say I'm biased. This is so much more fun for me to play. So, it's an awesome trumpet, and it's the development we had in my now 10 years working with Adams on different design elements. So, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found something useful in it. If you have further questions, post them in the comments here on the video, because this is actually going to be an archive for YouTube for people to watch in the future as well. So we really appreciate all your great support of the shop. I've got to get back to real work, doing accounting work. And again, thank you so much. You're all awesome. Hope you have an awesome day. Take care. Cheers. Yeah. Woo.